Are you hungry?
Give me something good.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Görgött. Today we're making seafood stock or langoustine and shrimp stock. And it's one of these episodes in the basic series. We've done some stocks in the past. Put a link to the playlist here. What it is, it's basically a nice dinner we had with Swedish seafood, shrimps and langoustines. And obviously you sit there and you peel and you eat. So you put all the peel aside. You get a box like this, full of peel. You put it in the fridge or the freezer, depending on when you will have time to make the stock. And then you just make the stock. And it's the most amazing basis for either if you want to reduce it really hard and kind of lacquer seafood and grill it, or if you want to make a seafood soup or a sauce. It's versatile and it's flavor packed. Now, one thing you have to remember is that obviously this is salty already, so don't salt the stock because you're going to over salt it. That goes in general for stocks, don't salt them, but this one in particular because the shells are salty already. But let's have a look at what we have here on the board and what we need for the stock. But before we do so, do me the favor, click the subscribe button and check the bell icon in order to support me. Now let's have a look. Now we have our box here of the shells. It's a mix of shrimp and langoustines. We have some leek, tomato puree, some parsley, some onions, some carrots, some celeriac, and 2 bay leaves. We're going to prep the vegetables first. It's not a lot of prep, but you need to cut it into smaller pieces, but you don't need to peel. It's a waste of time. So let's start with the prep, and then we're actually going to move over to the stove and do the stock there. And we'll start first with the onions, not just half them. And you see behind me there, I have a frying pan on, top heat, and we're going to blacken this side of the onion. So chop them into half. I like to chop them this way, because then this keeps the onion together. And then we just put it here and leave it to blacken. So do that with all your onions. Now for the carrot, just cut them in half. And as I said, you don't have to peel them. And then maybe ½ centimeter slices. So finish up your carrot as well. That's it with the carrots. I mean, the only important thing is to wash them well. Now the celeriac, also very simple, nothing too fancy. Same ½ centimeter to centimeter slices. We just want it all in kind of manageable size. And for our leek, don't even need to split it. We just slice it up like this. That's the last of the leek as well. Now we're basically done with our prep. We just wait for the onions. Let's see if I can show you one. Yeah, you need a lot more color than this. You want it to be black. So we wait until those are done. And in the meantime, I will set up the camera so that you can look into the pots. So we're heating up a bit of oil in here. And you can see over here our onions are still blackening. We'll put our vegetables in. And we want to brown this a bit, give it a bit of color. Now this is the kind of color we're looking for. So we put the onions to the side and they go in once this has a bit of color. We're slowly getting there, so now it's time to put in some, maybe I should open it first. Some tomato puree. I would say about a tablespoon, a good tablespoon. Put our onions in. And our shells. That's a good amount. Our bay leaf and parsley, and now we fill up with cold water. And we want to make sure we cover it. There we go. We want to bring this up to a boil, and then when it's come to a boil, we're just going to turn it down and let it simmer. And the only thing we need to do then is to every now and then fill it up with water. Let's first bring it to a boil now. So we're at a boil, we turn it down, and you can also skim off the foam. And this is what you'll be doing for the next couple of hours. Just watch it, skim off the foam, and fill up with water once it's needed. And make sure that it's always simmering. So on my stove, I'm turning it down to 3 out of 9. I will skim a bit more. And I think I'll see you again once we fill it up with water. And skimming it just helps to get rid of impurities, because that's what's coming up to the surface. It's been a little bit over an hour now. You can see probably we've lost a good centimeter of liquid. We don't need the parsley anymore, because I don't want it to be a parsley stock. We'll just take the parsley out. There's a bay leaf there. The bay leaf can stay. Now turn it up again, because we're pouring more water on. When you do that, you want to bring it to a boil again quite quickly. You can also take the opportunity just to skim off some more. We don't have to bring it to a proper boil. You can see here it's close to boiling, so we can turn it down again to leave that simmer level. So we're an hour in. We're going to continue doing this for another at least 2 hours, probably a bit longer. Obviously, the longer you have time to do it, the more taste you will get out of the shells and of the vegetables. So next time I'll see you is just basically when we're done and we're ready to pass it through a strainer. So I'll see you in somewhere between 2 and 5 hours, something like that, 2 and 5 hours. Obviously you don't need to stand around it, you just get it to a simmer and leave it on a simmer. And then maybe check on it every hour or every 2 hours, make sure you fill up the water, and that's it. The rest it's doing it by itself. So we're about 4 hours in now, and now it's time to strain it. And then we're still going to reduce it a bit, but we'll move over and we'll strain it. Before we strain it, it's the easiest is to kind of try to lift up as much as possible, because otherwise this is just going to block the sieve. So lift everything out, and then we will strain it. At this stage, it's not a proper stock yet, it's more like an infusion. We've infused the flavors of the vegetables and the seafood. And now we're gonna reduce to make it a stock. Now there's not that much left to get out, so it's time to put it through the strainer. Now I don't have a second pot that can hold this amount of liquid, so we're going to put it into here. I'm going to clean this pot and then we're going to pour it back in this one. I doubled up the cloth because there's quite a lot of small particles in this, and it just takes a bit longer now to go through. But just give it this time. In the meantime, we'll clean up this one. So we've passed through our stock and we cleaned our pot. We pour that over. And now we're going to reduce this by half. And then you have a good basis. Then you could, if you want to do like a lacquer, you can reduce even more. Or if you want to make a soup, you can use it as it is. But reduce this by half. And I'm not going to film that, but I'll get back to you once it's reduced by half to say goodbye and wish you all the best and so on and so forth. But where we are now, reduce it to half. And if you stuck with me this far, you must have enjoyed the video. So do me the favor and hit that thumbs up button below. It really helps me to get my content out there in the YouTube universe. So this onto the stove, reduced by half. See you in a bit. We're good to go. Reduced by half. This packs a punch. And like this, it's ready for a soup or a sauce. And if you want to lacquer it, just reduce a smaller quantity to get a thicker kind of stock. But this is excellent. And it's the best thing you can do with leftover shellfish shells. I mean, otherwise you would just throw them away, right? And this is really liquid gold. So next time you eat shellfish, lobster, langoustine, shrimp, whatever, save the peel and make your own seafood stock. You're not going to regret it. But that's it for this time. There's no plating, no big tasting. I'm going to freeze this now, smaller portions, and then just have for when I need it. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Before you go, if you're not doing so yet, click the subscribe button, check the bell icon to get notifications, and leave a comment. Take care. Bye-bye.